my dear friends, if you chance to go into the homepage of the website that John has set up, the first thing that you will see is a band on the top, and on the right you will see a picture taken at the elevation of the host in the church of the Dominus Flevit. It is a little chapel on the hill, the Mount of Olives, as you're coming into Jerusalem, and if you celebrate the sacred mysteries over the altar, facing the other way as it was meant to be in the beginning, you will look in at that site where the Lord wept as he came in to the city of peace, Shalom, Jerusalem, vision of peace, which never knew its peace. He came and would be, what? Rejected. My friends, that is happening in our time. And those tears, remember that church is built in the form of a tear. That is the regard of the Lord as he now looks down from heaven on the way that he comes into our assemblies. Dominus flevit, the Lord wept and weeps again. Proof. How many statues are weeping in his or his mother's name? Weeping tears either of water, or indeed they have been analysed and they are real tears, or worse, blood. This morning I also wanted to weep. A friend of mine has a very good blog spot in Westminster Cathedral where he is working full time and is fully aware of what is going on in all nooks and crannies of the church. He also wanted to weep. And this is the tear that he shared on this blog. He was aware that, alas, when the Lord comes, there is a callousness in the reception of him. Observe. Observe the way in which vastly we do not allow the Lord to work in our hearts. It hit me as he invited us to look at a tiny clip of video which he had picked up by chance and which he put on. And you can see it for yourself for what it is worth. It is just facts. Very short, only about 5 minutes. The title of it on YouTube is this: Catholic and Orthodox liturgy compared. It starts off with Moscow. The Patriarch of Moscow celebrating with calm dignity and awesome fear and trembling the sacred mysteries received from his distant past. On Good Friday, therefore, in black, with the people in physical and interiorized devotion. And by the way, just the other day, I had a person from Romania with me commenting on that. Now, Romania is a place where they have both rites. And this person commented quite spontaneously, they are very humble. When they go into church in the Eastern Rite, they disappear and truly worship with nothing but the heart, nothing exteriorized, but true humility in which God is allowed to minister to them in the peace and tranquility of otherness. That was what I observed in that short clip. And then, as though to make a point, it went just to the equivalent, I suppose, in maybe an exceptional situation. However, it was a pontifical high mass with many bishops taking part in America. unfortunately, the other side of America, where things often are a bit off-centre. However, there were many bishops there, and all it did was let us see the shock the difference made. What was it? The latest in modern music, the latest in gestuality, dancing, even on the part of those at the altar. In other words, happy, clappy, externalized, superficial praise in which man is in charge, having a good time, and in which Jesus Christ, Lord of his church, is pushed aside to make fun of, in a sense, where we have come from. We have got it right. We have been illuminated in the last 40 years, and we know better than 2,000 years of history. It went back, then, calmly into the beyond where we too have come from, but which they have not relinquished so simply in the East, and showed them venerating the gospel. And then back to the other bit, where the gospel was being danced around with by a deacon, and on it went, just without any fuss or bother, making a clear point. Now, my friends, where do we stand? As it happens, we stand midway. Why? We who have chosen to come to this celebration this morning are perhaps a little bit aware of the issues involved. We are aware that we are coming into something greater than ourselves. My house shall be called a house of prayer, and the Lord meant to get this clutter out. When we start crowding out the Lord of glory, we are making it a den of iniquity, precisely the very thing that he came to expunge. But I didn't stop there, my friends. I went on to another. Because remember that we are also in the West, and we have our tradition and our wealth. In the monastery, where I was ordained, on a Sunday morning, we would have the best of the West. You would see people crying because of the beauty of the celebration, very long, an hour and a quarter, an hour and a half on a Sunday morning, with 500 people present, coming in buses from afar to see how it can be done. Organ music, clouds of incense, Gregorian chants, and polyphony. It can be done, and we were only a small community. Here, my friends, we are very modest. But yet we have it. We have it insofar as we receive it, and we do it with a certain care, because we are handling something which deserves the best, our Lord and our God, who feels what we do to him or don't do to him. This other YouTube I would like to leave you with, because it's only just over the water where I've come from. Now remember, my friends, the faith has roots in a culture, and it reflects well the culture in which it is embedded. In Wales, all that is there has come from the Catholic Church, but bits of it have gone with it. And as early as the Middle Ages with Gerald Welshman, we know that they already had it, that singing in polyphony. And it's extremely moving. We can do it also when we do it with the choir in the West. Just not long ago, I was in the North, in Belfast, and I was nearly moved to tears on Corpus Christi when this full polyphonic choir was there in the gallery, singing away, young people, creating beauty, heaven on earth, which elevates the soul. Not more of the same thing. But I'll leave you with just this thought. If you go into this YouTube, you'll find it very simply, and you'll see what I'm saying just by listening to it. If you go into, now all you have to do is go into YouTube with one word. It's the Welsh word for prayer. It's gweddi. 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 And afterwards, the first thing that will come up on YouTube with Gweddi dros Gymru, a prayer for Wales. And in that, you'll find that beautiful hymn of Sibelius, Finlandia, and the prayer for Wales, which has become almost national anthem. But you will be by the end of it, because it goes into beautiful polyphony, struck by what man can do just with the human voice, creating a suggestion of something angelic with what he's got, the best for God. All sacred, because under their modalities it's given back to the Creator of all beauty. My friends, why should they, Protestants, do better than we when we have the fullness? All that they've got from us anyway. Why should we give God the minimum? And it's everywhere, my friends. Go to Ireland, any parish church except the best now in Ireland, you've got the minimum. And I heard the other day from a friend of mine who was in the north, and the north are better than the south because they're more aware usually. And she overheard this conversation. It was in a Sunday Mass one morning, and just at the end of the celebration, as the priest was about to wind up, she overheard this sentence between a husband and wife. Look at this, pointing at the watch. 35 minutes, we could get that done down the road. 45 minutes. They were complaining that 45 minutes was too much time to give to God, and 35 minutes was all that was necessary. Do you see the harm that that does in Ireland? This quickie mentality. God is just pushed aside, the minimum, and then they have plenty of time for the Guinness afterwards. No, my friends. If in the East they can take 2 and 3 hours, if in our Protestant country over the West there, just where we are, only a few miles away, they can take always an hour with beautiful singing, why should we give God less? I leave it with you, my friends. What can we do? On our part, we can give him back at least this. More time in prayer before the Blessed Sacrament alone. That you can do, and console your God, and feel him weeping, as once he wept when he came over Jerusalem and said, if only you knew the things that pertained to your peace.